from sci-fi space operas overloaded with lasers to sprawling Lord of the Rings-esque fantasy landscapes, modern American films have caused Americans to equate setting to genre. In most films, that's true. The setting is the genre, and the genre is a vehicle for plot. In Borat, a satirical comedy created by Sacha Baron Cohen, and Us, a uniquely satirical horror film written, produced, and directed by Jordan Peele, the genre is used as a vehicle for the message. In these movies, the genre is the plot. These films not only break down American film conventions, but also shed light on American culture. Like Hollywood, the American dream is glossy and overly perfect. But when outsiders enter, Americans are forced to stray from their script or project it onto the outsiders and expose its flaws. Borat and Us use genres built around emotions on opposite ends of the affective spectrum to show that when outsiders try to acclimate to American culture, it strips away the American facade. Peele and Baron Cohen use contradiction in their respective genres to show the flaws in the sentiment that blind love will solve all of America's problems. Interactions with both the foreign outsiders in Borat and the domestic outsiders in Us cause Americans to project this sentiment onto the outsiders. In Us, the tethers that live in the tunnels under America recreate Hands Across America, a historical fundraiser where Americans attempted to hold hands in an endless chain. In an unsettling final shot, the tether stands still in an endless chain across rolling hills. In Borat, despite the titular Kazakh reporter's offensive remarks and unusual customs, Americans try their hardest to be nice to him. They try their hardest to get him to understand American customs. They try to teach him etiquette, provide hospitality, and even forgive him for putting his poop in a bag. Despite their best efforts, their attempts to assimilate him only further highlight his cultural disconnect. The way Americans treat Borat is an extension of the Hands Across America mentality. Both reflect the American ideal of magical change through love, and both are completely blind to the importance of real action. When Borat or the tethers try and absorb this ideal, it produces both humor and uncanniness. The lined-up tethers feel empty and cold. They look empty and cold, and they appear human, but act emotionlessly in what would otherwise be a joyous communal act. Their unified, endless chain of community contradicts the bloody mess that allowed them to hold hands across America. Borat's learned and performed politeness continues to mismatch the bigotry that leaks through him. It is these contradictions that make both these genres effective and show the inherent contradiction of lip service without action in the American ideal of love. The outsiders show us the real nature of America, and we either laugh or shiver at the hollowness of it. Both films use extreme emotional reactions to help cement this message by making it memorable. The outsiders in both movies hold a mirror to the American facade of radical love as a cure-all, and show that it's broken.
Masks can be literal, symbolic, or metaphorical. In the movies Us and Borat, you see how masks are used to hide, shield, and expose the harsh realities. In Us, some of the characters are wearing a mask to hide the unacceptable parts of themselves. Pluto, the sun's tether, is wearing a mask to hide his burns, but he loves fire and is at his core. Jason, the regular version of the sun, wears a mask to hide his fears and to make him able to handle stress, because those qualities are seen as weak. The tethers' faces are also literally masks, some of them having constantly fixed emotions on them, such as Umbre, the tethered version of the daughter, or the tethered version of the wealthy white family, constantly smiling, unaware of how to reflect true emotion through facial expression. In Borat, many Americans wear a metaphorical mask, behaving in ways that are acceptable in society but hiding their true feelings. A smile and good manners hiding racism, hate, and unsavory sexual desires. Sacha Baron Cohen also uses the character of Borat as a mask to expose the people he interacts with and emphasize the absurdities within our lives and culture. Through the movie, he uses shocking and exaggerated visuals and making his character as absurd as possible to make a point. Borat unmasks the upper-class family during the formal dinner scene. By using absurd situations in comedy, Borat tests their limits of tolerance and ultimately exposes their classism and racism. In both movies, there is the underlying current of cultural hegemony. Cultural hegemony is the standard set forth by the upper class, not by force, but by making it seem like the most desirable option. In Borat, the upper class are shown as the highest and best way that we all should act. In Us, the upper class family is shown as what people should strive to achieve, having a bigger house and a bigger boat. But are the people in either of these scenarios happier or better? Or is this the fallacy of cultural hegemony? One way that cultural hegemony is portrayed in Us is how the Tethers look up to the normal society and want to be a part of it. Are they making a world that they want for themselves, or are they chasing after a world that has been constructed for them and that they are unfamiliar with and don't know how to interact with? Both movies ask us to consider who we are striving to be, and what masks we wear to fit into the societal construct set for us.
In Us, by Jordan Peele, classism is portrayed through the literal and symbolic division between the people living above ground and the tethered who live underground. The tethered represent the invisible lower class, those who are forced to live in the shadows while others live comfortably. The film critiques how society turns a blind eye to the suffering of the underprivileged, even though they are fundamentally the same as those above. Visual contrasts like the Wilsons' modest boat compared to their friend's luxurious yacht reflect the subtle anxieties about class and status. The line, "We're Americans," spoke by Red, the leader of the Tethered, remind viewers that those who are excluded from opportunities are still part of the same society, they've just been denied equal access to it. Classism is revealed in this scene in particular. When we first meet the Tethers, none of them can speak. Only Red has the ability to do so. The words come out raspy and barely audible, somewhat symbolizing the lower class barely getting a voice in society, and the upper class are the ones who are really in control. Red goes into detail about the differences in life that her and Adelaide live. While Adelaide got the privilege of choice, Red did not get the same privilege. She was forced to do things she did not want to do because she was tethered to Adelaide. Showing the privilege in the upper class, being able to pull the strings, and the lower class has no choice and must follow. When talking about privilege, Red says, when the girl ate food was given to her, warm and tasty, referring to Adelaide. But when the shed was hungry, she had to eat rabbit, raw and bloody. This, I believe, refers to food insecurity and the difference and luxury between choice and survival. Red also says, the second time, a boy. This time, they had to cut her open and take her from her belly. The shadow had to do it all herself. I think this perfectly highlights the unequal access to healthcare and the limited resources for the lower class. Also showing, while Adelaide had the choice of becoming pregnant, Red had that forced upon her, and because of her situation, she had to deal with it. In Borat, classism is explored through satire and cultural clashes. Borat, a character from a poor village in Kazakhstan, travels through the United States and exposes how Americans respond to someone they perceive as lower class and uncivilized. Throughout the film, Borat interacts with people from all social backgrounds, but the reaction he gets are often reflect discomfort, mockery, superiority, especially from those in more privileged spaces. The film doesn't just ridicule Borat, it critiques the way society treats the poor, the foreign, and the unrefined as either entertainment or as people they look down upon. Borat's ignorance is exaggerated, but reveals real prejudice towards those who don't conform to Western standards of class and culture. Classism is explored through awkward satire that often blurs the line between comedy and horror. His bizarre behaviors create moments that are undeniably funny, but also deeply uncomfortable. There's something unsettling in how quickly politeness breaks down, or how easily people reveal their own biases when confronted with someone they perceive as beneath them. Horror isn't seen in jump scares. It's in a way people expose their classism without realizing it. Borat's presence forces hidden attitudes to surface, making the viewer laugh one moment and cringe the next. It's a different kind of fear, social, cultural, and disturbingly real. Both Us and Borat use genre not just as a storytelling tool, but as a weapon to tear apart the polished image of American culture. Whether through horror or comedy, both films highlight the contradictions at the core of the American dream, a society that claims to welcome all, but only on the terms of the dominant class. The Tether and Borat are both outsiders, one from beneath society and the other from outside it entirely, who try to assimilate into a culture that promised love and inclusion but delivers confusion, mockery, and rejection. Both encounter a version of America that wants to help, but only if you follow the unspoken rules, wear the right mask, and never make anyone uncomfortable. The polite smiles in Borat and the fixed expressions of the tethered in Us reveal how much emotional labor goes into maintaining the illusion of harmony. Cultural hegemony sets the standards: who to be, what to want, how to act, but it also hides the violence it takes to uphold those norms. In the end, the outsider in both films don't just disrupt American culture, they expose it. They force us to confront the mask we wear, the lies we live, and the cost of pretending everything is fine. Whether we laugh or get scared, the feeling that lingers is still the same: discomfort, because deep down inside, we recognize the truth behind the facade.